Goo, 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 goo. That's the call of the Great White North. Hi, I'm Doug McKenzie. This is my brother, Bob. Say hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob. Hello, Norm.
I'm just kidding. I'm Biggs. He's Granberg. This is the Fantasy Forecast of Granberg and Biggs. We're here because I'm in the Southern American states. I'm in Louisiana currently, Baton Rouge, home of the LSU Tigers. Go Tigers. I just came from Mobile. Drove out here on Sunday where I was clocking the Senior Bowl all week last week. So we're here to give you the intel on the biggest risers and fallers in the next episode from the Senior Bowl, according to me, and whatever Mike's been doing as far as his criteria is. I'm going to lead off. I'm going to zig.
And I'm going to zag.
Expecting this. I'm going to talk about a guy who is going to be on zero, count them, zero fantasy football rosters in 2025, except for if you play PFF All 22. And that is offensive lineman Gray Zabel from North Dakota State. Now, one of the things is I was there for Player Profiler, trying to write pieces on the skill position players and everything. But there were some defensive players and some offensive players who are not skill position guys that will help you in fantasy directly with points that I saw pop on the field, and Gray Zabel was one of them. Now, a couple years ago, you might remember there was a kid named Trevor Penning who during his Senior Bowl was absolutely mauling people, just like the angriest Steve Grogan ripping heads off. And then last year, Cody Mauch, also from North Dakota State University, who started as a rookie for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2024. That pipeline is now leading to Gray Zabel. I talked to this kid, and I was like, look, I've been watching your reps, and you are absolutely violent. But I'm standing here, and I'm talking to you right now, and you are as soft-spoken and humble as any. I can barely even hear you. Is there a switch that you flip in your brain when it's go time? And he said, yeah, I'm very proud of the fact that when it's time to roll, I flip that switch and it's just violence. So here's my thing. He's a riser at the Senior Bowl because I want you to follow Gray Zabel. And whichever NFL team takes the chance and drafts him, you're going to look at running backs and quarterbacks who are playing behind him. Kind of like with Cody Mauch this year with Baker Mayfield and Bucky Irving. Follow Gray Zabel because he will lead you to fantasy gold.
I like that call, Biggs, because it's kind of outside the box. It helps people see the the intricacies of this game that we play, and having a guy like him come in, open up some holes for the running game, protect the quarterback. I really like that call. And you saw him up front. So, you know, big guys. And if you see one and you know what they can do and you see it up front, wow, I'm excited to see what he can do in the big leagues here now. So my number 3 riser was Jalen Christmas. I mean, Noel, or Noel, if you will, in the Great White North is what we call it. He made a significant impact at the Senior Bowl. He quickly established himself as one of the more intriguing prospects headed into the draft. He's known for his quickness, his agility, but Noel had a compact build that allows him to, make explosive moves in tight spaces. At the Senior Bowl, he lined up outside for much of the week, but he has shown that versatility. He could play multiple roles. 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns in 2024. And his Senior Bowl performance proved he wasn't just a flash in the pan. So he's got that wide receiver player of the week award at the Senior Bowl. It's a testament to how impressive his route running and ability is. So, I like what I saw here. I wasn't really on him before the Senior Bowl. I didn't really know much about him. And now, seeing what I saw, doing some dives into his profile, 80 receptions in 2024, 8 touchdowns, 257 snaps he played on the outside, meaning he can play inside and out. Despite a couple areas of improvement, such as deep speed and handling press coverage, he's not the biggest guy. He's not he's around 200 pounds. So, he's going to have some troubles handling those physical, corners and stuff. But I think the versatility and his playmaking ability, he's going to be a fascinating prospect. And if he can impress at the combine, like run a sub 4.3, then, wheels up for him. Biggs, what do you got, man?
Joyous Higgins. I crossed the streams. Sorry, you were looking for Joyous Noel. I'm staying with Iowa State with the Cyclones, and I'm going with the other guy that's a Cyclones wide receiver, and that's Jayden Higgins. Now, Jayden Higgins and Jalen Noel both popped off the tape for me as I was watching Rocco Becht, quarterback at Iowa State, the last couple of years. The reason that I was watching Rocco Becht is because this is a system that has put out Brock Purdy. They had a quarterback who suddenly rose to a starting position as a true freshman last year. And so I went through every Debbie campus to Canton roster that I had and picked him up off the waivers, and that's Rocco Becht. And I've talked to a couple of guys, Ray GQ, Chris, forgot his last name, that I met at the expo who works for NBC. And I've talked to people about Rocco Becht, and he is absolutely beloved in the analyst community. Now, it's going to be interesting how the models come out during analytics season with these two Iowa State kids. Jayden Higgins had a little bit longer path to potential stardom than Noel did. Noel is an absolute route technician. I comp him to peak Hunter Renfrow. Jayden Higgins is the one who, while everybody else was going, Jalen Noel is he's the MVP from his squad. He's on everybody's list of winners of the. Jayden Higgins is the one that impressed me the most. I saw him make some twisting in the air body catches using his hands, using his body. He's at his 6'3", 217-pound frame to box out like a power forward. He was cooking DBs off the line with just like a little hip shake. He was making linebackers fall over. He was getting 5-6 yards of separation on crossing routes. I mean, he was absolutely destroying the defenses in the one-to-one drills. And you saw in the game, they had a trick play, Ollie Gordon on the halfback pass, and Jayden Higgins absolutely cooked his defender, went up for the ball, allowed his defender to go past him in the end zone before he did, got the defender behind him, and then fell down and allowed the ball to come to him. It was a beautiful play. He has the instincts to be a ball winner at the catch point, in route running, everything. And at that frame, you're going to stick him on the outside with the ability to run in motion and come inside, win in the middle of the field, win on boundary throws, win on crossers, win on posts, win on go routes. He won everywhere on the field in Mobile. And I don't know why he didn't get the love from everybody else that he was getting from me, but he was my second biggest riser at the Senior Bowl.
I love it. I mentioned him in our last show there in the recap, just, that big physical style receiver. And, this class seems to have a lot of them. And I'm really excited to see what he can bring out. And, coming from the sideline, you watching him make those types of catches, it makes me even more excited to see how he can develop in the right landing spot too.
Well, like I was saying, it's going to be interesting how the models fit these guys, because I'm an analytics guy. I'm not a tape grinder. I'll watch some tape. I'll watch real games. I got to see them in person and everything. And he has impressed me more than anybody else. If the analytics models show me that his yards per route run, his first downs per route run, his missed tackles forced per catch, if those analytics fit with what I saw, he is absolutely one of the top 5 wide receivers in this draft, and nobody's talking about him except for day 2.
There you go. Okay, well, I'm going to be definitely keeping my eye on him then. And a guy that, I know that you've had your eye on. We both have had our eye on him. And he moved right up my board really, really high here. And that's Jaxon Dart. After, this Senior Bowl, there was a lot of, speculation about, the weakness of this quarterback draft class. And what happens here is it allows some guys to really rise up the board when there's so much ambiguity. Ambiguity. There you go. Thank you. I can't even say that word. in the class, right? So we have, your number one guy, which seems to be Cam Ward, seems to be the consensus right now. But now you got a guy like Jaxon Dart who's moving upwards, and some people have him as their quarterback too. Not quite there yet, but I have him as my quarterback 3 in this class. And after this Senior Bowl, he made a statement. You mentioned it last show. Dart's college stats, they show some impressive stats. But you know what? The one thing that is, shocking here is just the 29 touchdowns. But he only had 6 interceptions. He threw for 4,200 yards. Pretty good season. He also has added a lot of elements here with his legs, 1,500 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns over his college career, proving he can be that versatile weapon. He's 6'2", 226 pounds. He's got the ideal size and athleticism for that NFL that you really want to see. And his arm strength stood out at the Senior Bowl from the clips I saw, particularly in those short to immediate throws. So I'm looking at Dart, and I'm looking at him rising up even more throughout this offseason. His name is going to keep coming up, and as guys like us keep steaming him up, 65% completion rate in 2024. I mentioned that 6 interceptions. He just has got that ball control, and he's making some, really processing moves at the line. So I just liked his performance, and with his impressive college career, it positions him as a quarterback prospect that I'm looking at. And if he can get that first round draft capital that I'm, assuming he can maybe get with, another strong showing potentially at the combine, I'm thinking this could be really good for Jaxon Dart. What about you, Biggs? What are you thinking about his draft capital headed into this offseason?
Well, real quickly, I want to say, number one, my number one riser, and I said this in our last episode with our Senior Bowl recap, my number one riser is tight end Elijah Arroyo. So go back and watch that video, and I'll tell you all about him. The other thing is we are going to be releasing, we have a team at FSAN that is going to be releasing a rookie guide, and we have consensus rankings from all of us. And then we're writing up our scouting reports and stuff. And I have Jaxon Dart. Now, I mentioned in the previous show that FF Coder over at the Undroppables has Jaxon Dart ahead of everybody in last year's class except for Jayden Daniels and Caleb Williams. That includes J.J. McCarthy, who I wanted, and Bo Nix and Michael Penix. Okay, and what I'm saying that to deliver to you that Jaxon Dart is my number one favorite quarterback in this class. If I'm an NFL GM or if I'm a fantasy GM, I am not drafting Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. I am waiting until I get Jaxon Dart. We saw what happened with Jayden Daniels last year. Jaxon Dart's game translates more towards Jayden Daniels than it did to Caleb Williams. Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders translate more towards Caleb Williams. I feel like those two kids are going to need some ramp-up time before they're immediately successful in the NFL. I also feel that Jaxon Dart fits the profile of somebody who can step right in 2025, take over a team and be successful, given the right situation. Think of C.J. Stroud. He wasn't the quarterback one. It was Bryce Young. Think of Jayden Daniels. He wasn't the quarterback one. It was Caleb Williams. Jaxon Dart fits that criteria. I also talked about Jax Falcone and his anatomy of a top 12 dynasty quarterback. There are 12 criteria, 12 metrics. And the one that we don't know yet is early draft capital. But 6'2", 226, you want to be 6'2", 215. Over 1,000 college attempts, he had 1,300. Over a 65% completion percentage, he had 65.2. Over 9 yards per attempt, he had 9.16. Less than a 2.0 interception rate, it was 2.1. That's negligible. For best passing yards in a season, 3,750. Dart threw for 4,279. Touchdowns in his best season, a little bit short. Rushing yards, better than 400-plus rushing yards in his best season. Dart had 614. Total yards per game in his best season, 350. He had 367. QBR, 80-plus. He had 86.3. And then 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, he was at 3-to-1. This kid, analytically, is absolutely legit, and he has the rushing upside and the inclination to get rid of the ball out of the pocket that is going to make him a starter on day one. Now, I've been watching tape. I'm an analytics guy. I'm not a tape grinder, but for this rookie guide, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone and I'm watching the tape. And I was watching Jaxon Dart in 2022, and I was watching Jaxon Dart in 2024. And what I saw was a kid who matured, grew into his body, increased his arm strength, increased his poise in the pocket, became unflappable. He's not scared of contact. He moves the pocket, climbs the pocket before he runs, instead of just getting like running out of there as quickly as he can like Cam Ward does, or holding onto the ball too long like Shedeur Sanders does. Jaxon Dart makes the right decisions. I also saw a kid in 2022 who hadn't grown into his arm strength. When he threw the ball, it looked like it was maximal full body effort. In 2024, it looked like it was a flip of the wrist, and the ball was getting there on time and with velocity into his passing windows. Jaxon Dart is absolutely legitimate, and he is my QB1 of the 2025 class.
There you go. Biggs is going out already on a limb, and he's saying it. So let's go. So I might have to move him up to my QB2 now. So I think I just did. He's my QB2. I still like Cam Ward's upside.
Everybody out there, go ahead and keep him at QB3 or 4. It's fine.
Yeah, there you go.
There.
All right, Biggs. Who's your number one riser at the Senior Bowl?
I said Elijah Arroyo, and go back and watch that.
Yeah. All right. So
from last time.
So my number one riser then is Rashaad Smith, and I just liked what I saw from him. As a guy that was a smaller back, he got a big boost after what a really, really good performance did for him at the Senior Bowl in a really deep running back class to match, right? The former wide receiver at Miami. I think Smith's athleticism and quickness has made him an absolute nightmare in the passing game, especially in a week that highlighted, skills as a passing, catching back. He's only 5'10", but he's almost 200 pounds, which is nice to see. I didn't think he was going to get up that size yet, but he may be on the smaller side. And, he's a converted wide receiver, which is really nice to see. So, we've had some success now seeing that happen. And this could be another prototypical hybrid running back / wide receiver role that could, in the right system, be a good performer like a Tyrone Tracy that we saw this year. His stats and style of play set him apart as a dual threat weapon. He's as dangerous in the open field as any pass catcher. And in 2024, he played a pivotal role in SMU's college football playoff run. He rushed for over 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, while adding another 400 yards and 4 touchdowns through the air. His ability to make explosive gains on the ground and in the passing game, it just makes him a tough player to defend. And I think he's got really good speed. I could see him running a sub 4.4 at the combine. And if he does that, I think it really will elevate his draft stock, his unique blend of size, speed, and quickness. I think he just rose up the boards here. He wasn't a guy that many guys were talking about before the Senior Bowl, but now he's being put in there, and I could see him being, quickly rise up and maybe running into maybe the late second round, early third round in these rookie drafts that I'm seeing.
Here's the thing about the Senior Bowl. There's a lot of confirmation bias. Guys that you go to the event hoping to see play well. When you see it, you're like, yep, see, I told you. And guys who didn't, that you were like, I'm not real high on him. Then you're like, yep, see, I was right. And Rashaad Smith is one of those guys who a lot of people came into this thinking, oh, he's going to be my big sleeper. And a funny thing happened on the way to the Senior Bowl results or whatever. He didn't do anything to hurt himself. He didn't do anything to lower his stock at all. In fact, he provided the confirmation bias for all the people who wanted to pre-Senior Bowl wanted to call him a big sleeper. That's important. Sometimes with the Senior Bowl, it's important to show exactly what is expected of you rather than say somebody else who we'll talk about in our Fallers episode next time, who there was an expectation and they didn't live up to that. So it's not necessarily that he was the best looking running back out there. It was that people wanted him to do well and he did, as opposed to some guys that we wanted to do well and they didn't. And we'll talk about those in the next episode.
Yeah, and sometimes just being good is good enough, and just showing up and doing what you're expected to do is half the battle. And Rashaad Smith did that.
One of my favorite moments of the entire week, I was interviewing the offensive lineman from Sacramento State University, who is traditionally the big rival of my hometown, UC Davis Aggies. And somebody asked him a question about, does it frustrate you if you are in the one-on-one drills, the Oklahoma drills, whatever, and you get beat? And he looked at the guy and he goes, everybody gets got. And it was the greatest attitude I've ever seen from a young person, because it means exactly that. There is no world in which you are going to go do everything perfect. So sometimes all you have to do is just be good. And when everybody expected you to be good, you stay at water's level. And that's what I saw from Rashaad Smith.
I love it. Man, that's a good analogy, Biggs. I like what you do. Man, it's been nice hanging out, just you and me again. I missed you, buddy. It's been a great show.
Reunited, and it feels so good.
Yeah, buddy. And we're almost done this Senior Bowl wrap up, trio episode. So we got one more coming our way, and that's the Fallers. And then we will maybe get into some deep diving into some scouting afterwards, after we release our awesome rookie guide that we're working really hard on getting together for everybody here on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. So yeah, from all of us here in the Fantasy Forecast, Biggs, do what you do always so well.
My butt hurts. We hope you win, guys.
We hope you win.